So this was the poll winner, Gruff Rhys, Sadness Sets Me Free. It was one I chose, although can't say that I am that knowledgeable about Gruff. So I'm going to defer to Kiley to kick off the discussion.
Yeah, I'd say Gruff is an old friend at this point. Got into super furry animals. They didn't necessarily have any mainstream impact stateside, but my local college radio station definitely played quite a bit of them. And I remember, being on a school trip, like senior year of high school, to Portland and grabbing their album because I hadn't seen it anywhere else. And then kind of a funny thing, a couple years later, I had moved to Portland and uh, still, that was, I think, 2005, but Super Furry Animals with Caribou supporting is just one that,
Wow.
you know, all these years later, you can't believe you went to that, and it was probably half full. um, but now it's just like, well, especially with Caribou, how much he's blown up over the years, but just Super Furry Animals, I guess in a way, besides the super part, I enjoyed them like I did Supergrass, where they were just a little bit outside of, the Brit pop, um, what you heard from all those bands at that time. And so anyway, I've been following Gruff Rhys's solo career. He definitely started that while still in Super Furry Animals, and um, just always been a solid listen. I thought especially his last two albums, Ping and what was the one from uh
Seeking New Gods? Is that what it's called?
no, yeah, that one as well.
Mm.
Just both fantastic. So, I was happy that Andrew nominated this record. And I would say, it doesn't sound like Future Islands or anything, but I'd say I have the same kind of feelings I do about that Future Islands record, and that this is a Gruff Rhys album, which is always good in my book. Just great blend of neo psychedelia and pop and chamber pop, and um, I thought really strong throughout. He's always been just a sneaky lyricist, and there's just lines throughout this thing that um, just make me chuckle, and you know really, I don't know what to say outside of I think it's a really solid record. And if you are a Super Furry Animals fan, if you're a Gruff Rhys fan, I assume you've already listened to this, but if you didn't, you should, because I think he's really approachable, while just being left field enough to remain interesting in my book. So very solid record.
Yeah, I think solid sums it up. It's very consistent, and whilst the sort of best moments are maybe not as high as others, and the low moments it doesn't really get into that average zone. It sort of stays in its groove. It's quite gentle kind of music. I mean, I chose it just because Super Furry Animals, I mean, the stuff I've heard of theirs before, I've quite liked, but never sort of interrogated any further. And similarly, Gruff Rhys heard very good things, and if I'm not going to choose it for the pod, when am I going to listen to some of these artists? So yeah, good opportunity in that front. And yeah, chamber pop is probably maybe the main way of describing a lot of it. That I kind of said on the title track, Sadness Sets Me Free, that it reminded me of Randy Newman a little bit, actually.
Sure.
And yeah, I did get BC Camplight vibes as well through this, but the lyricism is the thing which I think is one of the most enjoyable aspects of it. Very, very different to many artists, and yeah, there's just a lot of really great invention going on here to make some very enjoyable pop songs. I think the single Celestial Candy Floss is my favorite on here, which with its soaring strings, very cinematic. And I think you can kind of say similar for a lot of the songs. So yeah, ultimately one which I would echo what you say, Kylie. And anyone who's got an interest in super furry animals, that kind of genre of music, do give it a listen. Yeah, and yeah, hard to add much more than that. I do have sort of individual notes on songs, but I think the kind of bulk of what you get on this album, and because of its kind of high watermark, which stays that way throughout, probably don't need to go into each of them as granularly as you might do with other albums, maybe. So, very happy that this is part of the pod. That's two sort of positive reviews. So, Karl.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like Gruff is one of those that maybe doesn't get enough credit for being the kind of musical legend that he is. Obviously you mentioned Super Furries, but to me, my introduction to him was Neon Neon, if you remember that project, which was 2008, obviously nominated for the Mercury Prize when it came out, and I saw Neon Neon at Glastonbury. That was my first Glastonbury that year, so that was a record that I absolutely loved, played that to death. Again, just loved the imagination and the invention. It was all about John DeLorean, and it was kind of like he does these great concept albums where he just picks a topic and just runs with that for it. And funnily enough, the first one of his solo stuff that I came in to was American Interior, which again, I think he did like a film, a book, and an album all called American Interior. So it was kind of, it was just straight away, those two touch points. He was just an artist that kind of does stuff that, kind of goes beyond what a lot of other artists and a lot of his peers do. He's always trying new things, and that's always a win in my book. Obviously, he's doing the soundtrack stuff as well now. But yeah, I think in terms of this record, you guys kind of said it's as good as any of his other solo projects. Sonically, you've got those sweeping strings, bouncing pianos, the lavish orchestration that kind of runs through the record. That's always going to be a big tick in my box. Those kind of musical arrangements are always kind of what speaks to me. It's funny as well, Andrew, you mentioned BC Camplight. I've got that down as well. The self kind of deprecating lyrics at times, just these quite funny stories. I've like the one on Bad Friend where I've got it written down here. I'm about as reliable as asking a seal to deliver the post, or
vocative.
Or asking a Pokemon to remember your phone number. Just thought, brilliant. Love stuff like that. And then the one on Celestial Candy Floss where it's I said I'm a barista, but she heard barrister, misunderstanding of my baritone stammer. just lyrics like that just it just makes the record for me. But for all those kind of quirky moments that's on there's a lot of heart, there's a lot of melancholy on there as well. Towards the back end he deals with kind of political issues. Cover Up the Cover Up, which I think is my favorite song on the record. Just this beautiful kind of quite stirring composition, which from the sound of it you would never guess was about overthrowing the government and like leading a revolt. Like, I just love the juxtaposition of the kind of lyrics to the composition of the song itself. It's kind of got this apathetic mentality running through it. So yeah, I just love everything about that song. And aside from that, you guys kind of said it's just really well put together. Love the kind of opener. I think it's a great curtain raiser. And then obviously it pulls everything full circle at the end with the refrain coming back in. The sadness sets me free. Refrain that it kind of repeats at the end there. It's just really, really tight knit. as you say, there's no duff moments on there either. So yeah, no duff from Gruff. Just a really fantastic
Call it
record. Yeah, just a really
No
fantastic...
duff from Gruff.
Yeah,
That's all we needed to say.
yeah,
That
that's
needs
it.
to be a tour T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gruff, if you're listening to this, I'll send you my details. I'll
Yeah.
take the commission.
we
Yeah.
like the posts about being included in the podcast, so I think
Oh, there we
we can
go.
get the campaign started. Definitely, he's listening. So not let's hope he listens, but he's listening online, and we can certainly get his attention with that. So no duff from Gruff.